I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia, and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, Just Law is a program where we hopefully try and discuss an area of English law which is of interest to our viewers. And also, secondly and more importantly, it gives you, the viewers, the opportunity to call in and ask any questions that you have on any aspect of the law. On this program, we should be able to cover most aspects of the law, from immigration matters, family matters, criminal matters, personal injury matters, etc. So whatever your query, whatever you need guidance on, please do call in and ask any questions that you have of us. Just a couple of matters before we get going. Obviously, it's a live show, so we're not able to look at your documents and provide advice to you having looked at your documents. So if it is a case where we really do need to look at your documents before we can provide advice, we'll tell you that's the case, and we'll ask you to leave your number with the control room so that we can then have a more detailed discussion with you. Secondly, as our viewers will appreciate, obviously we'll only be able to give you general advice, having taken a brief history of your immigration circumstances. If, having spoken to you, it becomes apparent that we need to speak to you in more detail, then again we'll ask you to leave your number with the control room, and we will call you back and have a more detailed, in-depth discussion with you. Having said that, in my experience on this show, we should be able to cover most aspects of queries that we get, and we should be able to provide hopefully sound advice or a steer in relation to the queries that you have. Now, what I tend to do on this topic is initially look at new changes which have come in, which may be of interest to our viewers. In particular, as far as immigration matters are concerned, what I try to do is give our viewers an update and explain anything that's happened over the last couple of weeks which has an impact on people living in the United Kingdom. Maybe they've come from abroad, maybe they've got some kind of temporary visa, maybe they are thinking of applying for indefinite leave, etc. And try and cover some of these updates which have an impact on those areas which may be of interest to them. So what I want to do today is have a look at some of the updates. Having done that, let's then move on to our topic for the day, which is making in-country applications for spouses and making sure we get our in-country applications right so that they go through. So first of all, let's look at these updates which have come in. As I've explained over the last couple of weeks, as far as spouse applications from abroad are concerned, this is where a sponsor in the UK has sponsored a husband or wife from abroad to come to the United Kingdom. As far as that's concerned, there has been some changes in that area. In particular, what's happened over the last couple of months is that where applications have been submitted by spouses abroad, and in the view of the Home Office, those applications fall for refusal because they don't meet the English language requirement. In those circumstances, the Home Office has put applications on hold for the time being, and what they've said is we'll leave those applications on hold until we revise our rules on the minimum income requirement. Just by way of background, the minimum income requirement is that the sponsor in the United Kingdom who's sponsoring the husband or wife from abroad needs to be earning in the region of £18,600. So where there's a difficulty in meeting that requirement, what the Home Office has said is that where somebody has submitted the application, we will put the applications on hold if they don't meet the minimum income requirement. And what we will then do is assess those applications which have been put on hold against the new rules which should be coming in to force shortly. So it may well be that under the old rules, the minimum income requirement isn't met, so the application falls for refusal. But under the revised rules, the applicant does meet the minimum income requirement and therefore succeeds in their application being granted. So at the moment there are approximately 5,000 spouse applications on hold. with the Home Office on hold for these new rules to be introduced. Well, just a couple of days ago, the Home Office introduced, or should I say, published what the new rules are going to be. Published on the 20th of July 2017. The rules don't come into force straight away. They come into force on the 10th of August 2017. So what the Home Office will be doing is looking at the cases which are on hold at the moment against these new rules which have been published on the 20th of July and which come into force in August, and see whether those applications succeed or not under these new rules. Now, as I've explained on previous shows, why have these new rules been introduced? They've been introduced as a result of a decision made by the Supreme Court in a case which is known as MM Lebanon and others. This is a case which went up to the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, where the judges had to look at the minimum income requirement, this 18,600 requirement, to see whether it was lawful, whether it was correct for the Home Office to insist on applicants meeting this 18,600 requirement before they were granted a visa to come into the United Kingdom. Now, essentially, the Supreme Court said that in general terms, the rule is fine, but in certain respects, the rules should be slightly tweaked to make the rules Article 8 compliant, so that sort of they comply with the right to family life. And in order for that to be done, you've got these new rules which have now been published by the Home Office. Now, difficult to say at the moment what the impact of these new rules are going to be. I have to say I am quite cynical. In my view, there will be very, very rare circumstances in which the Home Office will look at the new rules and grant someone a visa. Essentially, what the rules are saying is that if you don't meet the 18,600 requirement and there are exceptional circumstances, then we will look at these new rules to see whether you fit into the new rules. So the first hurdle is that there has to be exceptional circumstances. So your typical run-of-the-mill case, what the Home Office will do in my experience is simply refuse the application if the 18,600 requirement is not met. But we've got a call, so let's take our first call before we go into this in greater detail. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. वालेकुम सलाम जी, थैंक यू फॉर कॉलिंग।
यस भाई, मैंने आपसे एक सवाल पूछना है कि हमने अपने बहू का वीजा अप्लाई किया है पाकिस्तान से, तो वो तकरीबन 10 वीक हो गए हैं।
राइट, ओके।
स्पाउस वीजा है और प्रीमियम सर्विस पे हमने किया था, तो अभी तक उसका कोई जवाब नहीं मिला। तकरीबन 10 दिन पहले मेरे बेटे ने फोन किया था होम ऑफिस, वो कह रहे थे कि आजकल 8 से 12 वीक लग रहे हैं। तो प्रीमियम सर्विस तो हमने तो यही सुना था कि 4 वीक के अंदर अंदर उसका हो जाता है। तो
जी, आपने बिल्कुल आपकी बात सही है कि जब प्रीमियम सर्विस उसने जब शुरू की थी, तब स्टार्टिंग में तो 1 हफ्ते के बाद, 2 हफ्ते के बाद उसका डिसीजंस आ जाते थे। और जैसे ये प्रीमियम सर्विस पॉपुलर होना शुरू हो गया, तो मोर एंड मोर केसेस जो प्रीमियम सर्विस में लोग डालते रहे, इतना वो स्लो होना शुरू हो गया। सो फ्रॉम 2 वीक्स, 4 वीक्स एट द मोमेंट मेरे एक्सपीरियंस में रफली प्रीमियम सर्विस का अराउंड 9 to 10 वीक्स लगता है डिसीजन आने में। सो अभी तो मुझको ये लगता है कि देयर इज़ नो पॉइंट प्रीमियम सर्विस करने में। इससे तो बेहतर ये है कि नॉर्मल ही एप्लीकेशन डाल दे, बिकॉज
वही ना, वो 551 दिए तो फिर भी वही लेट उन्होंने किया,
पैसे ले लेते हैं और कहते हैं कि हम वी डोंट गारंटी एनीथिंग। सो हम उसको कुछ कंप्लेन भी नहीं कर सकते।
और दूसरा इलियास भाई, मैंने ये पूछना था कि उनका क्या तरीकाकार क्या होता है? वो हमें उधर हमारे बच्ची को फोन करेंगे, लेटर लिखेंगे, ईमेल करेंगे, उसका क्या तरीका?
नॉर्मल जी, उसका नॉर्मल प्रोसीजर ये है कि वो ईमेल करेंगे आपकी जो भी पाकिस्तान में है, तो उस जो ईमेल एड्रेस आपने दिया है एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म के अंदर में, तो वो ईमेल एड्रेस पे वो ईमेल भेजेंगे।
वो हमने बेटे का दिया हो इधर का,
वो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, वो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। वो ईमेल फिर बेटे पे आ जाएगा। तो ईमेल में सिर्फ लिखा होगा कि आपका जो एप्लीकेशन है वो प्रोसेस हो गया, आप वीज़ा सेंटर को कांटेक्ट करो ये आपका जो पासपोर्ट है वो कलेक्ट करने के लिए। अगर आपने वहाँ से ज़्यादा पैसे देकर वो कुरियर सर्विस ली है, कोई कुरियर सर्विस लेते तो नहीं है जनरली, अगर कुरियर सर्विस आपने ली है तो वो कुरियर वाला आपके पाकिस्तान में घर पे वो पासपोर्ट पहुँचा देंगे। बट जनरली स्पीकिंग क्या होता है कि वो ईमेल आ जाता है कि आप वीज़ा सेंटर को इस्लामाबाद में, मीरपुर भी, जहाँ भी है वहाँ कांटेक्ट करो। तो बेस्ट ये है कि वो वहाँ चले जाए, पासपोर्ट वहाँ जो उसकी स्लिप होती है, जब वो पासपोर्ट जमा करते हैं, जो स्लिप देते हैं वो लेकर वहाँ चले जाए और फिर वहाँ से पता चल जाता है। मगर ईमेल पे पता चलेगा, ईमेल करेंगे वो।
ठीक है, ईमेल करेंगे
जी। मगर आपने जो प्रायोरिटी सर्विस की बात की ना, वो रफली 10 वीक्स तो वेट करना पड़ेगा अभी तो डिसीजन के लिए।
अच्छा, ये 10th वीक शुरू हो गया है, आज मंडे को पूरे जो है 9 वीक हो गया।
जी। आई थिंक गुड चांस के अभी विद इन दिस वीक, मे बी नेक्स्ट वीक में जवाब आ जाएगा उसका। जो ये एप्लीकेशन है ना, जवाब तो आ जाते हैं उसके, मगर थोड़ा सा डिले है। और
कोई बेटा तो माशाल्लाह काम कर रहा है ठीक, उसकी अर्निंग भी ओवर 19,000 ईयर की, सारा
माशाल्लाह जी
ठीक है मसला
जी। shouldn't be a problem तब भी, because there are so many applications ये प्रीमियम सर्विस में हो गए है ना, तो प्रीमियम सर्विस में ही क्यों लग गई है ना, ये प्रॉब्लम है। सो इंशाल्लाह होपफुली 10th वीक 11th वीक आपको जवाब आ जाना चाहिए होपफुली विद इन। अगर 10-11 वीक्स के बाद भी अगर जवाब ना आए तो फिर आपको ईमेल कर सकते हैं, वो अबाउट £5.50 ऐसे कुछ फ़ी लेते हैं। यू कैन ईमेल देम, वो फिर चेक करके आपको बताते हैं कि येस इट इज़ इन प्रोसेस, या तो जवाब दे दिया है या नहीं। सो इससे पता चल जाएगा। बट एट द मोमेंट आई थिंक इट इज़ बिट अर्ली। आई थिंक रफली लेट्स वेट टिल अबाउट द 12th वीक। अगर 12th वीक में भी जवाब ना आए ना तो फिर उसको ईमेल करो। जी ठीक है ना। ऑलराइट जी, जज़ाकल्लाह, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर कॉल। आई थिंक फॉर आवर व्यूअर्स हू डोंट फॉलो इंग्लिश, आई मीन दिस इज़ अ classic problem at the moment with applicants who are using the priority service in order to try and get a visa decision quickly. Completely understandable, where people don't want to wait 3-4 months. They pay the extra fee thinking they will get a decision from the Home Office on the spouse application within what used to be 2 weeks. Unfortunately, at the moment, it seems to be taking approximately 10 weeks, 11 weeks for even a priority application to be decided. The problem is there isn't really much you can do if a priority application has not been decided within 2 or 3 weeks. You simply have to unfortunately wait. If after 10, my view is 11-12 weeks, you find that you still haven't received a decision, it is possible to send the Home Office an email, and that's accessed by, there's a little form that needs to be completed online which generates an email straight to the Home Office. They then send you an email back and they let you know what's going on with the application. But generally speaking, in my experience, better to hold on until 11-12 weeks have passed and then to see what's going on, because even if you send this online query, online email, all that happens is they give you an update as to what's going on. They don't escalate the case at all. You don't get a decision any quicker. But at the moment, unfortunately, dealing with the Home Office does require a lot of patience, and that applies both to out-of-country applications and also in-country applications as well. Just going back to the sort of updates we were talking about, as I said, some of the rules relating to the 18,600 requirement has been sort of amended slightly. It's been made slightly more easier to meet the requirements. But essentially, the Home Office will only look at these more generous rules where the Home Office believes that there are exceptional circumstances in the case, in most cases where there are children involved and the applicant can't meet the 18,600 requirement, they'll look at the more generous rules. So what are these more generous rules? Now, what the rules say is that in certain circumstances, we will look at third-party support. That this is to some extent going back to what the rules used to be prior to 2012, where you could rely on third-party support. So for example, there is someone in the UK who isn't working, but maybe has parents who are extremely wealthy, and are well able to look after the sponsor in the UK and the applicant abroad, and that's quite apparent from their wealth. Now, prior to 2012, it was always open for the applicant to say, look, okay, my husband or wife in the UK isn't working, but there is a guarantee of third-party support from a family member. Look, this is what they earn, these are their savings, and they have guaranteed us that they will provide us with support, so we won't need to have recourse to public funds. That was removed from the immigration rules in 2012. It's now been brought back in for exceptional cases from the 10th of August 2017. So what the rules are saying, these generous, slightly more generous rules where you actually fall into this category because your case is exceptional, what they're saying is that if there is a credible guarantee of sustainable financial support from a third party, then you may be able to qualify without meeting the 18,600 requirement. So one is the third party support criteria, which was removed a while ago. Secondly, what they're saying is that we will also take into account prospective earnings from sustainable employment or self-employment of the applicant or their partner. So for example, if it looks like the applicant, it's unlikely I think it's going to apply to the applicant, because if the applicant is about to commence employment, I think the Home Office will take the view that let the applicant commence employment, let them work for 6 months and then make the application. I think it's more likely to apply to not the sponsor in the UK, it's more likely to apply to the person who's abroad applying for the visa. If they can show that when they come to the United Kingdom, there is an offer of employment or self-employment, then the Home Office may take that into account as well. In my view, it's likely to apply to probably professional skilled people, where maybe their skills are in short demand and sort of in a lot of demand, skills are in short supply, I should say, and the person has an offer from an employer in the United Kingdom. So what they're essentially saying is that, look, if you manage to get a visa to come to the United Kingdom, you can start working here. Normally you'd expect that the salary would be reasonably high and exceed the 18,600 requirement. So at the moment, that isn't taken into account. All that is taken into account is the sponsor's income in the United Kingdom. The revised rules are saying that, okay, that's fine if the sponsor isn't working, but there is a credible offer of employment or credible offer of self-employment for the applicant who's abroad. Let's say there's a job offer in the United Kingdom, then that's fine as well. The applicant can apply on that basis that, look, once I come to the United Kingdom, I have a job to go to. So potentially, that's the second source of income that the Home Office is saying that they will take into account as well. And then finally, what they say is, like, there's a catch-all which says we will also take into account any other credible and reliable source of income or funds available to the couple. So essentially what they're saying is that, look, we will look at other means of income, other means of support. It could be third-party support. It could be the applicant with a job offer in the United Kingdom, or if you look at this catch-all provision, it could be any other source of income or savings or funds. We will look at everything basically in appropriate cases, and we will, if satisfied that the more flexible rules are met, we will grant a visa to the applicant in those circumstances, even though the more stricter 18,600 requirement is not met. So you now have the more sort of flexible rules, but again, to be eligible, to be considered under these more flexible rules, your case has to be exceptional. We'll have to wait and see what this exceptional means. It may mean that any couple which has a child, or which a couple who have children, they fall into this category. Again, it's a case of let's wait and see when the Home Office is prepared to look at these more flexible rules. At least it's a good start. We didn't have this for the last 5 years. I mean, the more stricter rules have been in place since 2012. So we've not had this for the last 5 years. But at last, as a result of the decision from the Supreme Court, we've got these slightly amended rules which seem to be more flexible. Now, there is a downside to being considered under the more flexible rules. The downside is this, that what the Home Office is saying is that if you're considered under the more flexible rules and you're granted a visa, you will be granted a 2.5-year visa, which is the case for all applicants. But normal applicants, if I can put it that way, would qualify for indefinite leave after being in the UK for 5 years. Whereas what these rules are saying is that where you fall into the more flexible rules category, the more generous rules apply to you, you won't qualify for settlement after 5 years. You will qualify for settlement after 10 years. So it's a case of, I think, if you simply cannot meet the rules, then obviously you apply on the basis that your case is exceptional, you meet the more flexible rules which are now going to come into force. Downside is going to be that if you succeed, you won't qualify for settlement after 5 years. You will have to wait a total of 10 years before you qualify for settlement. So that is basically the new rules which a lot of immigration lawyers like myself have we've been waiting to see what these new rules are going to be. And this is the reason why, as I said at the outset, a number of cases, something in the region of 5,000 cases, have been put on hold. Those cases were going to fall for refusal. The Home Office put those cases on hold and now want to assess those cases against these, what appear to be more generous rules, to see whether applicants qualify under these more generous rules. If they do, fantastic, they will be granted a visa. Downside, slight downside, is that applicants will not qualify for indefinite leave until 10 years have passed. Just on that point, on the point about not qualifying for settlement until 10 years have passed, there is actually nothing in the rules which says that once the applicant is in the United Kingdom under the 10-year route to settlement. And indeed, there are many people in the UK, people who've been granted a visa within the United Kingdom, where the route that they are on leads to settlement after 10 years. So, but there's nothing in the rules which prevents those applicants from moving out from the 10-year category back into the 5-year category if they meet the requirements of the 5-year category. So for example, if we look at what we've been discussing today, an applicant qualifies for a visa under the 10-year route to settlement. They come to the United Kingdom, they start working and they earn enough money to meet the 18,600 requirement. There's nothing that stops the applicant then, after 6 months of being in the United Kingdom, to switch back into the 5-year route. Obviously, once they switch back into the 5-year route, as far as the Home Office is concerned, the clock is reset. You start from year 0 again. You don't take into account whatever time you've done in the UK, whatever residence you've got. You count your time under the 5-year route from year 0 again, and you build up your 5 years. But it is still, if somebody's quite keen to get settlement quickly, it is still better than waiting for 10 years to obtain indefinite leave. At least you can qualify for indefinite leave after 5 years if you switch into the 5-year category. So that's really what I wanted to flag up as far as updates are concerned, and it's certainly sort of a big update with a I think these rules run into roughly 14-15 pages of tightly typed rules. They're on the internet if anybody wants to read them, but essentially that's where we are. Now, just before we start talking about the topic for today, just to remind viewers, it's a live show, so anybody who wants to call in, please do call in and ask any questions that you do have, and hopefully we'll try and answer those questions. What I want to do is discuss, in relation to immigration applications, I want to discuss how further leave to remain applications are made when an applicant is in the United Kingdom, they've done their first 2.5 years, they now want to extend their visa in the United Kingdom. They've done the hard part, they're in the United Kingdom on a spouse visa, they're about to complete their 2.5 years, and they want to know, how do we now successfully extend our visa in the United Kingdom? It's quite pertinent that we're dealing with that today, because I had 2 clients who came from Bolton today on this issue, and both had complications, unfortunately, simply because they were going to meet the requirements under the self-employment category. I'll look at that in greater detail after I've taken the next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
السلام علیکم ورحمۃ اللہ وبرکاتہ.
وعلیکم السلام جی, تھینک یو فار کالنگ.
بھائی میں نے پوچھنا تھا, ایک ہمارا بندہ ہے بیچارہ 11 سال سے یہاں پر ہے
جی,
وہ خود اپنی روزی روٹی کماتا ہے
جی,
اور انہوں کو ہوم آفس والے جواب نہیں دیتے.
جی جی, تو وہ اوور اسٹے ہو گیا ہے یا کوئی ویزا ہے اس کے پاس کوئی بھی؟
ویزا تو وہ جب وہاں سے آئے تھے وہی ہے.
جی, وہ
انڈیا سے,
جو انڈیا سے آئے تھے, اور جب وہ یو کے آئے تھے تو وہ کس ویزا پہ یو کے آئے تھے؟ وزٹ پہ آئے تھے یا اور
وہ آئے تھے
وزٹ ویزا پہ. تو وہ جو بھائی ہے اس کی کوئی فیملی ہے یو کے میں, وائف چلڈرن کوئی ہے؟
ان کے بیٹے ہیں.
بیٹے ہیں. بیٹے کی ایج کیا ہے؟
بیٹے کی ایج, وہ شادی شدہ ہے
جی,
کچھ ایک بچے کا باپ بھی ہے.
ایک بچے کا, رائٹ, ٹھیک ہے. وہ سب اوور 18 ہو گئے ہیں؟
جی جی جی,
اوور 18 ہو گئے. اور یہ جو بھائی یہاں ہے اس کی ایج کیا ہے؟
ان کی ایج کچھ 55-60 کے.
جی, اور جنرلی اس کی جو ہیلتھ ہے وہ کیسے ہے, وہ ٹھیک ہے؟
وہ ہیلتھ تو فرسٹ کلاس ہے, وہ بیچارے اسٹول لگاتے
کام کرتے ہیں. جی
جی جی
جی جی. ویل بیسکلی سچویشن کیا ہے کہ
سچویشن یہ ہے کہ ہوم آفس والے ان کو جواب ہی نہیں دیتے. وکیل جو وکیل کے پاس گئے تھے, وہ وکیل ان کو کوئی خط بھی نہیں دیتا کہ کاپی ہوم آفس سے آئی ہے یا کچھ بھی.
جی ٹھیک ہے, نو پرابلم. جی, وہ انڈرسٹینڈ دیٹ. بیسکلی وہ سچویشن یہ ہے کہ ہوم آفس کا رولس یہ ہے ابھی کہ 20 سال کے بعد اس کو وہ ویزا کے لیے اپلائی کر سکتا ہے. 20 ایئرس کے بعد. جی, تو میں آپ کو تھوڑا سا ڈیٹیل میں اس کا جواب دے دیتا ہوں, تھوڑی سی I'll go into a bit of detail. پر جزاک اللہ, آپ نے فون کیا ہے.
اور آپ کا دفتر کہاں ہے؟
ہمارے آفس سے ڈیوزبری میں ہے. ڈیوزبری, ویسٹ یارکشائر.
کیا نام ہے دفتر کا؟
دفتر کا نام ہے کنگزویل واٹس سولیسیٹرز.
کنگزویل
واٹس سولیسیٹر, جی, ڈیوزبری میں ہے, ویسٹ یارکشائر میں. جی
اچھا, اوکے
جی, ٹھیک ہے نا. جزاک اللہ, آپ نے کال کیا. میں I'll give you more details. جی, alright. Inshallah, یہ جو کال تھا, inshallah I'll look at that in greater detail after we've taken our first break. Hopefully we should be back in the next couple of minutes. Assalamu alaikum.